Now, let's go back to our php.ini file and have a look. We've got error reporting currently set to eAll. So we are reporting errors back to ourselves as we're developing. Now, what happens if I want to report errors, strict errors, for example? Well, this doesn't include eStrict. So what I can do is I can specify to say and e_strict. Now what this is going to do is it's going to incorporate strict errors. So what we're talking about is code that might run, but let's have a look at the definition. It might run, but it's runtime notices enable PHP suggest changes to your code which will ensure the best interoperability and forward compatibility of your code. So it's basically giving you messages about your code itself rather than errors that you might be coming across. So you don't need to include this, but maybe it's a good idea if you want that kind of error reporting to show. However, we've used this ampersand here, but what we can do is we can say, let's say eAll, and use this symbol to say, well, we can say ampersand as well. We can say not including e something else. So we could say not including e notice. I've just noticed as well this example is actually written up here. So yeah, I wasn't looking at it, but coincidence. So error reporting eAll and e notice. So what you could do is you could specify it like this, which will show all errors except for notices and coding standard warnings. So it's not going to show it's not going to show notices, and the coding standards warning is the eStrict part of it. So remember, eAll doesn't show eStrict. Now, if you wanted to show code standard warnings, so coding standard warnings, sorry, you could just do this. So you've got eStrict here. So it's up to you what level of output you want. You can mess around with this, and once you've got your application maybe built a bit bigger, you can turn this on, have a look. I mean, and keep it on anyway, but it's a good idea to fiddle around and see what you can come out with on this. Especially if you're getting a blank page, you can change this to say just eAll. So when you finish developing on your web server, you should probably always turn this off. Why? The reason being is that if errors do occur on your page, especially eStrict notices, you don't want your viewers to, or your visitors on your website, to be seeing eStrict notices, nor do you want them to see errors if you've maybe trying to include a file somewhere. For example, if you're trying to include a file somewhere and it can't be found and you're returning an error, what's happening is then they're understanding the structure of your website. So for security reasons, it's probably best to turn error reporting to 0 either on your local or web server when you release this to the public. So if you say have paid hosting, you might not be able to get access to php.ini. However, you can use a couple of functions to change values, and that's what I'm going to go over just now. So what happens if we want to dynamically update this value inside PHP? Now let's close php.ini and we'll have a look inside here. So what we can actually do is let's get rid of the outside content as well. What we can actually do is we can specify error reporting either like this. So we can say error reporting 0. I don't think it's working on my installation at the moment. Yeah, let's just get rid of that, see what happens. Yeah, okay, so error reporting 0. You can then change it to say eAll, and then refresh the page, and you can see, oh no, we're not getting that back. Maybe we could. No, okay, so it's not working on my installation just yet. However, you can use error reporting maybe on like a public server. You can also use things like ini set is a great function to update values in your php.ini. So we can say ini set error reporting eAll. So then I don't think this is going to work either for my installation, no. But the idea of this is that you are dynamically setting your ini file, or you're just using the error reporting function on its own to change these values. I think with the ionize set you don't need to include these, so it's just like that, regardless of whether it still works on mine. No, it doesn't. So that's a bit about error reporting and how you can either produce errors or hide errors from either yourself or the public, and a bit of information about why you should turn it off, as well as some examples of setting this up on the fly.